Some may have seen it was sent around on one of the WhatsApps that the Rebbe one year said good Yom Tov on Yud Shevat. The Seder of the Farbrengen will be first. We will learn the last part, Voice Hey of the Maimer Bosel Legani Tovshin Yud. Just waiting momentarily. Rabbi Leo Bro will come in and he will learn the Maimer Barabim. After which we have a number of other speakers / Farbrengens. There will also be a pause for Ma'ariv, and the Farbrengen will continue afterwards. We also have a 20-minute video, very inspiring video, which is very apropos for a Farbrengen of Yud Shevat. So I think maybe until he comes we can sing a Nigen, the Rebbe's Nigen at least, and then we'll have the Maimer. Ya 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 will now learn Oisei of the Maimer Bosel Legani Tovshin Yud.
Just like there is a turning away below knowledge, which is called a shtus of klipa, and similarly there is a hatoya, there is a turning away which is above knowledge, which is we call shtus de kedusha. In his Chazal in the Gemara they say about Rabbi Huda Rabbi Loi that he would take a stick of hadassim of myrtle and he would dance in front of the Kala. Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yitzchak would dance with 3 sticks of hadassim. He would juggle one up and catch them. Rab Zera then said, you're embarrassing us, as Rashi says, because he's mezalzel in the covet of Talmidei Chachamim. And yet, when he passed away, it says there was a Amuda Denura, there was a pillar of fire that was separated between him and the rest of the world, which shows how great he was. Rab Zera then said, he said that the stick of hadassim which he danced with helped him. This helped him create this Amor Kedusha. The Gemara brings another opinion that it was the shtus d'sava. It was the shtus that the old man did, as Rashi says. Misnai k'shoita, he acted like a shoita. And some say the third verse in the Gemara is shitzel d'sava. It was the practice, the minig that he did. This type of shtus, says the Rebbe, is lamaylam and adas, is a shtus which is beyond knowledge. It's madrega which is tremendously high, because ish v'isha, when a man and woman are zoicha, the shechina is between them. The ish is eish yud, the isha is eish havaya. When the two join together, the yud kei forms the yeshchina, and it comes to begilui with a binyan aliyah. If so, there must be a very high madrega. And in order to get that, he was zeicher to have giluim nailim biyoser, because he was dancing with this in this way. And mesamechos nekala, he was zeicher that after he passed away, there should be a pillar of light, a pillar of fire, which is bechinas gilui or begilui mamash. Inyan is because the or in soif, there's no machshiva that can grab hold of it at all. It's lamaylim eger hasoga. Every hasaga, every comprehension, whatever it is, the greatest you could have, is still called a hasaga. It's still something capable of being grasped. It's something that's not even begeder hasaga. You can't even reach it. You can't even comprehend it. It's bechlal. It's after shitavis b'saga klal, as it says in the Sefer Shel Beinin in Perik Yud Ches. And the Gabi HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is l'mayla menasech ladas, leis machshavat b'sivei klal. We are all considered as fools by him, as David HaMelech says, "V'ani Avraham v'leida v'hem yisoisimach." Which means that David HaMelech is saying that through the fact that anivar or behemoth, I consider myself as a fool, as like an animal, with that I am with you. In order to reach the Atzmas Yisbarach, that is through the bittul of the Ratzon, which is Lamayla Metavadat. And that's why this Madrega in Mechin is called Shtus. And this is also why we find that the Nevi'im were called Meshuga, which means mad. As it says, Madua ba ha-Meshuga hazeh. It says, why did this Meshuga come? Referring to the Navi in that way. And the reason for that is because at the time when a Navi had the Gilui Nevuah, he had to strip himself of Gashmis, of physicality. That means the Hafshata of Seichel and Midos. And in order to be in the level of Bittul, which is Lamayla Mitamadas, which that's the whole union of a Hafshata Salavushim, removing the clothes when they had Nevuah. As it says by Shaul. By Yivshat Gamhus Begala Beisnabe, it says that he too stripped himself of his clothes and he prophesied. Why does the clothes have to be taken off in order to get nevuah? Because the whole idea of levushim comes because of the chet of Eitz Hadas. Before the chet, it says that both man and woman were naked, and they were not embarrassed. And it was only through the chet of Eitz Hadas that the whole inyan of levushim became mischadish. B'yadua, it's known that the ikar chet is the hergesh, is the feeling that you can mix the toiv v'ra, hergesh, which is mixed of good and bad. And it says, they knew that they were naked. That means they had the first time a hargosha which was mixed with tov and ra together. And this is also the inyan of levushim. Levushim, clothes, that's the inyan of a mixture of tov and ra. But in its shoresh, what does it mean? It means a hergish of seichel and midos. Which is for that reason, during the time of prophecy, it was necessary to remove these levushim, which is the hafshata of hergish of seichel and of midos. That means that one is hemavatel one's koiches and the chushim as well. As the Rambam says in Hilchos Yisoda HaTorah, mi Yisoda Hadas, one of the fundamental of our religion is to know shehakeli yisborach menabe b'nei adam, that the Eibishter gives the power of prophecy to human beings. And the nevuah will be applicable to a chacham gibber, hamis gabra al Yitzrayim. person who controls his inclination. And a person who his inclination does not overpower him in any matter. As explained at length there in the Rambam. And that's why this bechina, this level is called shtus, because it is a turning away from normal and das and asad. And because the avoid and the mishkan and the mikdash was to transform darkness to light, the choshech itself should light. Haina, that means that from the shtus of lumazeh, from the shtus of the other side of klippa, should be a bechina of shtus of kedusha. For that reason, the mishkan had to be made, built out of atzi shittim, of acacia wood. The word shittim, of course, comes from the word of shtus. The haina, that means that means that we reach a level beyond knowledge that is extracted, that is refined from the level of lamata min hadas. And that's why it says also and this comes through the avoid of the person in the avoid of his own gedurim, his own refinement, that he's boiled to transform darkness into light. That means he's transforming that which is lamata min hadas of Olam from Welt, that it should be lamayla min hadas. Because they are kamad devarim in a human being, which he does. People do this because that's the norm. That's what the world does. And these things become like a choik, like a fixed thing that it's impossible to move. And for that, because that's the hanhag of the olam, and because the world does that, people don't want to move away from it. We find in certain things of etiquette, etc., we see that it stays there like a fixed thing. And we need to be mahapech. We need to transform this to l'maylam and adas b'avodah. For example, when it comes to times for eating and times for sleeping, mitzad the Welt, these are fixed times. They're always there. A time for eating and a time for sleeping. And even when you have to do business, there's also times for business meetings, and that doesn't get moved. Nevertheless, these times, generally speaking, they're built in Izaz and built in Nidav. Whereas the times for Kibiyas of Torah and of davening, they get pushed up much easier. And they don't have any cover. There's no fixed time. And sometimes, chas v'shalom, they can be pushed off completely. When a person makes a cheshbon nefesh and he thinks, Vos Barachachim is there in such a hanaga? Who knows when his time will be? As it says in Medrash Rabbah, Ein Adam Shalit Loimar Hamtinu li ad she'esech cheshbonos. No man can ever say, just wait until I finish my cheshbonos, until I give my commands to my household what to do. People don't even get a chance to do that. How is it possible that a person will give his whole nefesh, he'll give all his energy for something that has no substance at all? On the Iker, for what his neshama came down to this world, he forgets completely. This is only coming because of the Rosh Shtus, which is Machasa, which covers over the truth. And this is the Avodah of the Yid, to be Mahapech, this Shtus of the world, and to stand firm, and to be Kavei to Motor. And then he will have a Shachanti B'Soicham, that he'll have a Gilui, a revelation of godliness, Benafshe. Zehu, and that's what the Zohar means, Kadis Kafi Sidra Achra, that when the Sidra Achra will be subdued, the other side, that through the fact that he is poil to transform the shtus of the nefesh of Bahamis and the koch from Welt to kedusha through the kima Torah mitzvahs, through that is yitzalek yikar the good shabricha b'chol almin. Through that you have the glory of the Eibishter beaming through the whole world, which I said before. That is a level of oir which radiates all the worlds equally, which meir mizgala oir asev kol olam. The Kitzur, he explains in the Mami here that in this ois the shtus of hatoya turning away, which is Lamayla Mitam Vadas, that is one of Kedusha, and it is it's comparable to the removal of the feeling of Seichel Midas during the time when people had Nevuah. He explained also the union of Mishkan, which had to be built after out of Atzi Shittim, and he explained how the Shtus of Umazeh is transformed into the Shtus of Kedusha, Al Derech Zeh, in the avoid of each and every person.
Sing some of the Rebbe's Nigunim. As I said, we have a number of speakers tonight. I'd like to call upon Rav Pesach Rosenbaum to say a few words. We wish him and his family and Shalom Shalom Tevis. Should know any more tzar and only Simchas Mikan Al Habach Teva Chesed.
Family brother. The Ilu Nishmas, Dror, Noel, Benny Bolim, Chaim Toilim, my dear father, Simcha. It is hard to speak, but as we just heard in the Maimer, there's an Indian Shtus Dikdusha. I heard throughout the Shiva various discussions. My father was angezunt about the early days, Geelong, Shepparton. He used to visit his grandparents in Shepparton. And we know that the Chassidim made a huge impact on this community. In times that were very difficult times. People came after the Holocaust, went through Tzoros and nobody should know. But the Lubavitcher Chassidim were the ones who were always a freilich. They would always make freilich, make sure that everybody is freilich, Yidus Hashem B'Simcha. And I saw this when I went to Kfar Chabad. There were, here in Melbourne, the shidurim, the hookups. But those who remember, we're usually in quite a civilized time, in the middle of the day. In Eretz Yisrael, in Kfar Chabad, the Rebbe's hookups were like 12 o'clock at night. We'd go through the whole night. And I remember vividly in Beit Shazar, in Kfar Chabad, that there would be a long wire that would connect to a speaker that looked like a megaphone. And there were three old Chassidim of the Frierdiker Rebbe, who would stand all together like soldiers the whole night. Reb Mendel Futefas, Berke Chaim, and Abzusha the Partisan. And just to see these Chassidim standing at the Rebbe's Farbrengen was quite an inspiring observation. And I thought after that, when I would daven, Yismach Lev Mevaksher Avai, people that are, these people, who knows what they went through, but Yismach Lev, Yivdus Hashem B'Simcha. When you would hear these people davening, they davened freilich with chayus. In fact, I remember once in the Bein Hazmanim, the time when the yeshiva was off, I happened to daven in one of the shuls, and Reb Mendel Futefas was in that minyan. And it's the sort of thing that happened in a regular businessman minyan. You know, you start with a certain crowd and you finish with a different crowd. In the end of the minyan, he came over and said to me, Ob ge'arget the davening. They killed the davening. One thing that I should say is my brother Sholem, when he found out the gravity of what he had, was just before Yud Kislev 2 years ago, and he was here in this hall in Yud Kislev Farbrengen. He made a point that he should come to the Farbrengen. He put effort, and Dafka, that was his thing. And throughout the whole Maisa, it was Vayaminu B'Hashem U'V'Moishe Avdoi. Strong emunah all the way. One of the things that he particularly held very dear was the union of davening and not talking during davening. We talk about shtus dikdusha, we were saying all these nice things that we learned today in the Maimer Bossi Lagani. We learned it before, we've learned it for years, but as Ramendel says, the Shirei Zimra. The Eibishter wants to see what's left after the Farbrengen, the Shirei Zimra, the leftovers after the Zimra, after all the singing and the Farbrengens. What's going to be left? What's going to be the Poel Mamish, the Bechaim? So there was, a few weeks ago, my brother-in-law Yossi Cohen, whose birthday I think is tonight, I'm not sure if he's here, but so his mother was here, and she said that people, the schus for Shalaima at the time for my brother, should put in effort not to talk during davening. And yesh loimar, that what's the iskafia that we have to have nowadays? You know, everybody has their own nisyonos, everybody has their own things that they have to deal with in daily life. But one of the things that we all have to deal with is that we should try to daven a bit better, concentrate better, and not talk during davening. When somebody comes into our shul, they should say, oh, this is Hafsidim daven. This is a place where the Rebbeim can come and they'll have nachas from what they sing. Once in the shiur with Ramendel, a bocher asked him, he said, I heard, is it true that, we talk about Shvi Lorishan, he talks about in the Bossi Lagani, that our Rebbe is the 7th generation to the 1st. And Friedrich Rebbe in his mind makes a whole thing about Avraham Avinu. He was the one that started it, bringing the Shekhinah back down. And Moshe actually brought down into this physical world. It's the 7th from the 1st. So this Bocher asked, he said he heard that only our Rebbe and the Alter Rebbe had black hair. All the other Rebbeim had red hair. Is it true? So Ramendel said, the Friedrich Rebbe is given roit. He said the previous Rebbe was red. The Rebbe Rashab is given gelb. He said the Rebbe Rashab was yellow. He says, before that, I don't know. But he told us that when he was a young boy, he spoke with the old chassid of the Mittler Rebbe. But he said he didn't have the seichel to ask him how he looked. So the union of Shvi Lorishan, we talk about in relation to the Alter Rebbe, halten the klanke. There's an expression to hold onto the door handle of the Alter Rebbe. It says about somebody who doesn't say Tachna on Yom Yutas Kislev. It's halten the klanke, holding the door handle of the Alter Rebbe, and has it had a connection. Today is a day that we have to concentrate with that hiskashrus. What can we do to improve our hiskashrus to all the Rebbeim, and especially to our Rebbe, to fulfill the mission that we are given of to bring the Shekhinah down into this physical world as a Dor Shvi. So people say, they try to nachmachen the Rebbe, they follow, what does the Rebbe do this, I want to do this like the Rebbe does. But it's well known that the Rebbe, when he's davening, he looks inside the siddur and concentrates on the davening. He doesn't talk during davening. And there were cases when the Rebbe was not happy about people that were looking at him during davening, and so you should look inside the siddur. The second mimer of Bossi Lagani, the Hayosheves Bagani. Yeah, today we did the first 5 chapters, but then it continues on. We know it's 20 chapters. The second one is Hayosheves Baganim, that talks about how the Malachim come and listen what's going on in our shuls, in our Bate Midrashim, what's happening, where we're learning, where we're davening. For them that's more precious than what's going on in heaven upstairs. Once I was sitting in a sukkah with Reb Chaim Tashkent, Ober Shalom. It was actually the Pidyon Aben of Eliezer Hallam's son, who was a shliach here in Yeshiva Gedol a few years ago. And Reb Chaim Tashkent, he said that the word Chaim stands for Chavivim Yisrael Yoser Mimalochim. The Yidden, Jewish people, are more beloved than even the angels. So if the angels come and listen what's going on in our shuls and in our davening, it has an effect. We have amazing power. So we shouldn't take it for granted. But we can daven, or we can improve our davening and improve our learning. That's what's going to bring Mashiach. And you want to be a chosid. Sometimes like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, what are the things that are holding up Mashiach? Chas v'sholom. It's always in Klon, the Shechita, people that are Chas v'sholom pushing away the Shechina because they're talking in davening or not having the proper respect in the shul. So we have to do whatever we can to have Tchias HaMeisim. Today was Oz Yoshir, from which we learned Tchias HaMeisim, that Moshe himself will come back and sing, all the Yidden will sing together. Mekan Remez L'Tchias HaMeisim in our Torah. And it will be in a way of Shira. And my brother was very musical and always happy, with a smile, with Avas Yisrael. Never embarrassed anybody. Always tried to encourage people. So we have to learn from these midas, Achai Yitan Eliboy, and how we can improve our situation, our Ben Adam Lamokem, Ben Adam Lachavere. And these are the things that Iskafia and Ishabcha of our situation now. Yeah, we had in today's Kitas Miminam and Mismolam. The water protected them from the right and from the left. Like also there's a moment from the Friedrich Rebbe about the Eretz Ashur and Eretz Mitzrayim. There's different types of trials and tribulations that people go through. In the previous generations, they had to run away from the communists. Things were very, very difficult. They couldn't log on to a website and see 40,000 Sforim available for free. These things didn't exist. A totally different world. Right now we have different nisyonos, and that's what we have to deal with. So the Eibishter should give us all simchas, the toiv, ha'nira, v'hanigla, and we should be taka oz yoshir in the Farbrengen of Yud Shevat Tovshin Yud Aleph. When the Rebbe said the first Maimon Bosel Legani, there's also, if you look there in the Sichas, or Ches, from the Sichas there, it says that till now was talking about parashas about the Golus. And now, parashas B'Shalach, our parasha now, it's talking about the Geula. And that there will be the Oz Yoshir Moshe. From that we learn Tchias HaMeisim in our Torah. And it's talking about the Moshe Rabbeinu of our generation. And it's in a way of Moshe U'Bnei Yisrael, with that Vav that joins Moshe and the Jewish people in a Vav HaMachaber, that it's all one thing. The leader and the Yidden, it's all one thing. So it will be Hashem Yimloch Le'olam Voed, Hashem will rule over everything forever. And even in Targum it says, Havai Malkus Ekom Le'olam Amaya, Naldivi Meheira V'Yomeinu, Vet Menzen Dem Reben Be'enei Bosar, on Ervet und Aroisnem and Legula Mitzvah Shleima, that we will see the Rebbe with our physical eyes, and he will take us out to the true and complete Geula. Amen.
Bye. Before I call on the next speaker, just behemshech, what was just mentioned about how the Rebbe davened and the example, etc. So I heard a number of times from my Shvedel Zangesund, should have a refuah shleima kreve, b'sei Shachel Yisrael, Yisrael ben Zisrael refuah shleima kreve, Aaron ben Bracha refuah shleima kreve, and everybody else who needs a refuah shleima kreve miyad manush. So I heard from my Shver that it was in the times before Tafshin Yud, the time of the Friedrich Rebbe, and it was Shabbos. It was Shabbos morning by the davening in what we call the upstairs shul, the small Beis HaMedrash where the Bachrim learned. Now the Bachrim learned downstairs too. I think it was in the middle of Kriyas HaTorah, I think. And the Rebbe walked in and he asked for silence, and he said that he had just come from upstairs from the Shver, from his father-in-law, the Friedrich Rebbe, who asked him to go downstairs into the shul to convey the following message. The message was that he had just been visited by his father, that's the Rebbe Rashab, who came to him and he said, "Wie kommt es, so hayitochen, als badir in Beis HaMedrash retmen b'shas Kriyas HaTorah?" How is it that in your Beis HaMedrash, in your shul, that there is talking during Kriyas HaTorah? The Friedrich Rebbe told the Rebbe to go down and to convey this message to the Mispalalim, and everybody was in stunned shock. But the Friedrich Rebbe is saying his father came from Gan Eden with this taina, with this complaint, which he immediately relayed to the people. Moshe said that it had a very powerful pu'ula. It was not like water off a duck's back, chas v'sholem. It had an enduring, lasting pu'ula for many, many, many months. I'd like to ask now Rabbi Leah Bro to continue for bringing.
I think every Yud Shevat the Rebbe would, or many, many times the Rebbe would talk about chitas, which is the takana of the Rebbe the Shver, the Friedrich Rebbe. So therefore it's kedai to mention the takana as well of learning Chumash Tilim Tanya every day. And in addition, the Mamal Mokem, the Rebbe has the takana of the Rambam and all the different levels, 3 prokim, 1 perek, sefer mitzvahs, etc. But it's kedai to mention that these are the takanas of the Rabbeim. And one of the ways of his kashras to the Rebbe is to keep this takana. If you look at many of the Igros Kodesh, many of the letters that people wrote into the Rebbe and asked for various things, very often the Rebbe would write, Betach, I'm sure that you're learning the Shiurim of Chumash Til Tanya Deilim, which means that the Rebbe saw that with these Shiurim that a person does, he gets your brachas already through that, the learning of the Shiurim. So, to mention something about, in today's Chidas, which if you haven't done it yet, it's very, very long. Today's Revi of Parshas V'Shalach has the shir in it on the words, on tomorrow's shir, I think, talking about Lechem min Hashamayim. The Pasuk says that the Eibishter said he'll bring down Lechem min Hashamayim, rain from heavens. And Chazal tell us,
I would like to make a request on behalf of the Mesubin Khan, those participating in the Fabrengen, that we should have now one Fabrengen and that everybody's paying attention to the speaker at present and not make private Fabrengens, please. That could be later on. Fabrengen a ganze Nacht.
So the Rebbe has a question he asks. Chazal tell us that who was the one who made the first bracha of benching? It's Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu made the bracha of Hazonas Olam. Whether it's exactly the words that we have, but basically that was Hazonas Olam Kula B'Tuva, etc. So the Rebbe asks, how can we make a bracha on the bread that we eat? The same bracha that Moshe Rabbeinu made. In the desert, they were having lechem min hashamayim. They were having bread from the heaven. We eat hamoitzi lechem min haaretz. So how could it be that Moshe Rabbeinu made the takana of the lechem min hashamayim, which we eat today, of the lechem min haaretz? The Rebbe answers and says that the bread that we eat today, the panosa that a yid has today, we have to be aware constantly that it is lechem min hashamayim, that it is bread from the heaven. The Rebbe, and he brings the words of the Rebbe Marash, who says the following words, that the parnosa bizman hazeh, that having parnosa nowadays is mamish like hashpa'as haman. It is the hashpa'ah of the manna for the yidden in the desert. Even though it looks like that we have it in Derech HaTeva, we wake up in the morning, we go to work, we're in business, or we work a daily work, or whatever it is, and it looks like it happens with Derech HaTeva. The Rebbe Marash said that the work, the parnosa, is mamish like hashpa'as haman. So in connection with that, there's a story just that happened a number of years ago, quite a few years ago, where there was a person whose parnosa was to be he was a shochet, and he had two brothers who were involved in some other work, and later they lost their father. And this person who was a shochet was shechting in a place where he had to live for 12 months, put it practically, in a place where there was no minyan, no shul. He could hardly hear davening. He'd maybe go out for Rosh Hashanah or Yom Tov, whatever. One time he'd go out to the place, but generally speaking, he would have no chance to be with a minyan. And it was his parnasa. Now he had a problem because he wanted to say Kaddish for his father, but at the same time he had a parnasa to keep as well. So his mother said to him. His mother thought, look, give it up for a year. Maybe you should give it up for a year, the parnasa or whatever. But he already had promised. He was the only one of the three brothers that had enough money to provide for the levai, for the matzeva, etc., etc. And he said that if I'm not going to work for a year, it's going to be very, very difficult for the family and for me, etc. He didn't know what to do. But we forgot that there were two brothers already saying Kaddish. So he turned to the Rebbe. He wrote a letter to the Rebbe explaining exactly this problem. What should he do? And turned the Rebbe to advice. And here the Rebbe's, in the Igros Kodesh, which is printed today, gave the following answer. So he said, the Rebbe wrote, that al pi shulchan aruch, al pi halacha, you have ways in which you can get out of davening with a minyan, and ways in which you can get out of even saying Kaddish, especially that you have two brothers that are already saying Kaddish. So he said that therefore, al pi din, you can what's his name? You can keep on your parnasa, and you can support the family, and you have two brothers that will keep on doing it, etc. They'll be saying the Kaddish. That was the first part of the letter. The second part of the letter read as follows: that I'm answering you this way because I can feel in your letter that there is not betochen, that you don't have confidence that the Eibishter will provide no matter what you would do. Had you written in such a way that would have exhibited the betochen and the confidence that the Eibishter would provide in any way whatsoever, I would have advised you differently. And that was the end of the letter. It's a moiridical letter, because the letter comes out that the Rebbe is actually telling this person, yes, you can do it, I'll be allowed, you can do it, v'chulu, v'chulu. But what he was telling this person was that your own hanhaga, your own confidence will be leading your goyrel. A person creates his own goyrel in life through his own bitachon, through the way he has confidence, the way he treats his life, which is a moiridic answer. And this answer was given so often, and the famous words, Trachgut Betzangut, continuously. How often did the Rebbe give this answer? That having bitachon. Many times we hear this idea and we say it's a good word. When it comes to practice, very difficult. Sometimes it's very difficult. The Yates is Muskaber. Anyway, the Eibush shall have that everyone should be blessed with Parnasa B'Harchava, Mikol Tuv Sela, with Man Min Hashamayim and Man Min Haaretz Gam Yachad. Amen.
Anna Fege Bas, Maya Rezel, the four Shlomo Reva, Saint Shachel Israel. Yanu Amecha, as was just mentioned, how the Rebbe taught us constantly about bitochen, etc. So on Tezvav Menachimov Tavshin Yud Aleph, the Rebbe writes a short letter where the Rebbe writes some very powerful words. B'ksav Yad Kodesh. First, the Rebbe says, I just sent you a telegram, and espale b'ma'oi, I wonder exceedingly, al nefilas ruchoi, why you are so down, low-spirited. And it tells him that he should get the advice of two doctors who are mumchim, expert doctors, v'yischazek v'bitchoyne b'Hashem Yisborech, and you should strengthen your bitochen, your trust in Hashem Yisborech, and then Hashem b'vada yachzir le'isone, certainly bring you back to your full health. Stop. So the Rebbe writes in this letter what the nusach of the telegram was. At the end of the telegram, he used to write stop. And the Rebbe says, "V'achakel b'suras toivus," and I'm awaiting to hear good news. V'birchas refuah kroiva, the bracha. This was still part of the nusach of the telegram. Stop means in the middle of the telegram. Those of us who remember still telegrams. The Rebbe says that I'm waiting for b'suras toivus. And the Rebbe says again, so the birchas refuah kroiva, the bracha of a refuah kroiva, that the refuah, the healing should come soon, which was the Rebbe's lashon most of the time, refuah kroiva or refuah shleima kroiva, but always kroiva, and then chasimosi, my signature. So the Rebbe was writing in this letter what his telegram was. Now the Rebbe adds b'ksav Yad Kodesh, melernt, und as es kommt lepoel, wo is der betochen? We learn and we learn, but if it comes to lepoel, to actual practice, where is the betochen? That's b'ksav Yad Kodesh. And in the next two lines at the end of the letter, where the Rebbe says that you should learn 3 or 4 times Shar HaBitochen and Chovis HaLevavos, which the Rebbe many times gave that advice and instruction. And the Rebbe says, understandably, I don't mean that you should learn it all at once, but over a period of a few weeks, you should learn 3 or 4 times but the lashon b'ksav yad is very, very powerful. Meleren, when as es kommt lepoel, wo is the betochen? We said that we're going to make a pause for Ma'ariv, and I'm emphasizing it's a pause for Ma'ariv, the chiyuv we have to daven, and immediately after we still have speakers who are prepared to speak and to farbring, and we have also an inspiring video to show. How many? Yossi, you're davening out. Yossi, you're davening in the foyer. You go in that corner. There are Sidurim here. The Sidurim there at that side over there by the Svarim shop. There's Sidurim. I believe there's Sidurim over here also in this corner. You'll have 1 million on one side of the hall, another in the other side of the hall, and 1 million in the foyer too.
He wrote the Rebbe.
one sec, he's taking a minute, so we're going to stick another
Probably, but all day
The fundraising is going to continue. Please take your seats. If anybody hasn't davened yet, a minyan is about to begin in the kollel. They actually need one more, a sixth person to daven. If anybody hasn't davened yet, go to the kollel, please, and be mashal the minyan. We have a number of out-of-town guests here. Rabbi Sai. We still have a program to continue with. Now after Bayram, it's Yud Shevat. As the Rebbe speaks at great length in the famous Kuntrus B'chor Yivorech Yisrael about Yud Shevat. I'd like to call upon now please, Rabbi Sai, I'd like to call upon our guest from Sydney, Rabbi Levi Gurari. Please take your seats. Please take your seats. As I said, we still have a program. Rabbi Levi Gurari.
Chaim. So it's put it here. So it's well known, the letter of the Rebbe about Beis Nissen and Toshin Yud, which wasn't very long after Yud Shevat. So the Rebbe says that in Beis Nissen, which is the yard site of the Rebbe Rashab, there are two inyanim. There's the fact that it's the stalkus of the Rebbe Rashab, and there's the fact that that is the day that the Frierdiker Rebbe became the Rebbe. So it's two inyanim, but both are very important. But in that letter, the Rebbe says that when Ikeya Eleinu Regei Eleinu, the Iker Inyan is the fact that the Rebbe became the Rebbe. That's what's Karev to us. Not that Chas v'Shalom one negates the other. But the part is that the Iker Koch and the Iker Reid has to be about that Inyan. The fact that the Rebbe became the Rebbe, that's what's negei to us. So in this year's Basel Lagani, which is Toshim Yutes, so in that year's Fabrengen, in the first Sikha of that Fabrengen in Toshim Yutes, the Rebbe says the following. He says, he quotes a Gemara. It's actually, I think he's quoting a Sikha from the Friedrich Rebbe, which is from Yud Shevat, which is the Yartz of the Rebbe Zerivka, that the Sikha says over there that the Friedrich Rebbe quotes a Gemara. The Gemara says that Eoiv had Avas Hashem. It says about Eoiv that it was Yirei Elikim. The Gemara said that his Yiras Elikim came together with Avas Hashem. How do we know? Because it says about him that he was a Yirei Elikim. It says about Avram Avinu that he had Yiras Hashem. Just like by Avram Avinu, his Yira came together with Avos, so too by Eoiv, his Yira came together with Avos. So the Gemara says, and Avram Gufei Minolon. How do you know Avram Avinu himself had Avas Hashem? The Gemara quotes the pasuk Zera Avram Oyavi, that the descendants of Avraham Oyavi, the one who loved me. So we see from that Avram Avinu loved the Eibishter. So the Rebbe asks in the Sikha, why does the Gemara find the pasuk to prove that Avram Avinu had Avas Hashem, specifically about a pasuk which doesn't discuss Avram Avinu himself, discusses Zera Avram, discusses the descendants of Avram. The Rebbe answers that Avram Avinu himself, the fact that he had Avas Hashem is not a chiddush. Avram Avinu, the Eibishter appeared to him, Kama v'Kama Pamim, an expression of the Sikha is something to do with that even like a Pasha to Yid, Pasha to Mensch, the Eibishter appears to him, of course he got Avas Hashem. In other words, it doesn't show that his Avas Hashem was intrinsic, that it was really a part of him. What's the raya that Avram Avinu's muhus, that his etzem, was Avas Hashem, and the fact that it was so intrinsic by him, it's not the expression that the Rebbe uses there, but it became a part of his DNA. In other words, he was yarshed into his children. The Zer Avram, that's the raya that Avram was Oyavi. And the fact that you look at his children, that's how you see that Avram Avinu's Avas Hashem was Takan Avas Hashem. And then the Rebbe is Bekasha that. To the idea of the Friedrich Rebbe, that the Chassidim of the Friedrich Rebbe, they are, so to speak, the raya of who the Friedrich Rebbe was. In other words, if you want to know who the Friedrich Rebbe was, look at his Chassidim. So obviously the same things about the Rebbe. If you want to, in other words, the almost kaviyachol, the raya in the emes of the Rebbe's inyan, the raya of the emes of everything that Yud Shevat is connected to, the Rashvi, Rid Shchin Lamata Ba'aretz, all of that. What is what expresses that? Zera Avram Oyavi. The fact that his Chassidim are like that. The Rebbe himself is the Rebbe himself. How do we know that it's Taka Emes? Only look at the Chassidim. It's a very similar word that the Rebbe says in Yud Shevat Tashim Chavav, that Mas Zari B'Chaim, Afu B'Chaim, that the Raya and what proves that Hu B'Chaim is Zari B'Chaim. Only because Zari is B'Chaim, that's how you know that Hu B'Chaim. So in other words, the Achrayis, the responsibility is on us to achieve what Dei Rashvi is all about. And not only to achieve it, but to so to speak, prove and to express the emes of the Rebbe, the nitzchis of the Rebbe, the fact that what the Rebbe was all about is taka true and taka is emes. And it's all on us. That itself, that vart itself, is enough to put on us a big achrayus. The truth is, a shloimar, if you think about the circumstances of Yud Shevat, when the Rebbe was makabel and Asiyas, it's very well known that it wasn't simple. That the Rebbe wasn't just makabel and Asiyas. It was a difficult process. Chassidim needed to push. They needed to write Ksavos Kashrus and Machanan. It was a difficult process, and we know that. There's many letters. There's many letters that the Rebbe wrote in that year. What do you want from me? I'm not shaykh to this. That was all before Yud Shevat. Before Yud Aleph Shvat, Toshim Yud Aleph. The truth is, even afterwards, if you look through the sikhs of all the Yuds, there are many times where the Rebbe expresses the fact that he actually, I'm not sure what this means, but he doesn't want this. It's not for him. I just want to bring you two dugmois. There's a reason why I'm saying this, it's important for us to know this. One dogma is from Purim. Actually, a lot of the dogmas come from Purim, funnily enough. But first of all, one dogma is in Purim Tafshin Yud Aleph, which is one of the first Fabranians after the Rebbe was Makabel and Siyas. One of the first. In that Fabranian, the Rebbe took a lot of mashka, and towards the end of the Fabranian, the Rebbe started talking about his Siyas and started using very, very sharp, very sharp words about how it's enough for me, and I don't know what you want from me, and why did you pick me, and Oisius like that. In Purim Toshin Tesvav is a very famous year, because in the Sikha that I'm about to tell you, a chelik of it, that's the beginning of that Sikha, the Rebbe, that's the famous time when the Rebbe said that whoever wants to become rich should lift up their hands. That's the Sikha of Purim Toshin Tesvav. How does that come in? Because the Rebbe started the Sikha saying, some people complain, what's the purpose of this whole Avodah? It's difficult, it's schwer, it's not simple, we're not tachas gafnei, we're not tachas tei nosei. And then, sort of like almost derech agav, the Rebbe said, and halavai, we shouldn't have those problems, and we should have the nisoyin of Ashirus, and that's how the Rebbe led into the fact that whoever wants to become rich, lift up their hands. The nisoyin of Ashirus is the test of being rich. So the Rebbe said, halavai, we should have the test of being rich. So that's what he said, whoever wants to become rich, lift up their hands. Anyway, then the Rebbe continued. After the Rebbe, so if you listen to the Sikha, it's like a little bit of a break. The Rebbe gets a little bit upset. Why didn't people lift up their hands? Anyway, then says v'nachzil in yoneinu. He says some people taina have a complaint. Why were we sent in Golus? Why were we sent in a situation where it's very difficult to do our avodah? Where it seems to be that there's no tachlis, seems to be that there's no bishmak, there's no enjoyment in avodah. We're in a situation which takes us away from avodah. What's the purpose of it? And basically, the Rebbe explains over there that Golu le'edoim shchina imoim, that when we went into Golus, went into exile, Hashem came with us. And basically, the Nakudah is if you want atzmus umuhus, if you want the Eibishter himself, you have to go into the world. It's very connected to this. Is Baslagani B'chlal. You have to go into the world and into Gashmias where the Eibishter is not begilui, and over there be Mekayim mitzvahs. And over there do your shlichus, and that's how you're going to get atzmus umuhus. Then the Rebbe says like this. And if you listen to the Sikha, there's pchiyos nirois, what the Rebbe is saying this. Listen to it. The Rebbe cries bitterly. And he says, I'm translating, since you want, or it's demanded, Hashem demands, that ploini ben ploini should reach atzmus umuhus, and when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the only place that atzmus umuhus is found is Dafke in Edom, Dafke in Golus. Therefore, the Eibusher gives you an avodah that you don't see the mile of the avodah. Not in the Nefesh HaBahamis and not in the Nefesh HaLekis. In other words, it doesn't even make sense, Baruchnius. It doesn't look like this avodah is bringing you closer to the Eibusher. Ader Rabbi, says the Rebbe, you see Fakir, you see the opposite. How this Indian, this avodah that was given to you, the shlichus that was given to you, and if you listen to the Sikha, the Rebbe says it like this, Machten vayit von avodah satfila. It makes you further from davening properly. Machten vayit von limudat Torah. It makes you further, it distances you from learning Torah properly. Machten vayit von kima mitzvahs behidur. Takes them away from mekayim mitzvahs behidur properly. It's not tachas gafnoi, it's not tachas tei nosoi. Not only doesn't have a geschmack in it, but it takes them away from everything that he sees that's important. And then if you listen closely, over here in Teres Menachem, they bring in the Hara, but if you listen closely to the audio, in the middle, the Rebbe stops, and he says that this person thinks that I'm talking about him. Actually says the Rebbe, Ich mein sich allein. It's clear on the tape. Listen to it. The Rebbe says, I mean myself. Me myself. In other words, this whole avodah that was given to me, I don't want to add words here. But basically, it's machten vayit from limudat Torah. Obviously, whatever that means on the Rebbe's level can move on. But in other words, it wasn't what the Rebbe wanted. It wasn't. The Rebbe wanted to sit and learn a daven. That's what the Rebbe was interested in doing. The whole avodah that was given to him took him away from those things. And then he says, and therefore he tells you that the Frierdiker Rebbe Schwer sent you on this Indian, and chasnoi kibnoi, that a son-in-law is like a son, and therefore that this Indian, your Rebbe sent you, and therefore we know at the end of the day, this is what's going to bring us to atzmus umuhus. Even though we don't see it, doesn't make sense, but that's it. So you see from this Sikha an unbelievable thing. It's not Raposhut, but the Rebbe wanted to learn Torah and daven. That was what the Rebbe was interested in doing. Nevertheless, at the end of the day, the Rebbe was makabel in the Siyas and had Mesiras Nefesh to deal with us and to take us on this journey of Deir HaShvi, and to Megal L'kus L'mata, and ultimately bring Mashiach. But it was a Mesiras Nefesh. It wasn't Pashut. Perhaps even sharper, in Purim Tashon Tezayin, a year after that. Again, if you listen to the tape, it's very nikah. The Rebbe said a lot of l'chaim. And then, towards the end of the Farbrengen, the Rebbe quotes a Gemara. And the Gemara says, it's a Gemara in Bava Kama, and the Gemara says, Kadrogi zeraya al ana ovid l'nagda samusa, which the Rebbe doesn't translate the Gemara, and in the middle of the Sikha, the Rebbe says that it's a good thing that there are some people by the Farbrengen who don't know what that means. But anyway, I will translate it, because it's Negeya. And the translation of the Gemara is that when the shepherd gets upset at the flock, he blinds the one who leads it. In other words, the Gemara over there discusses there's one sheep who's like the leader of the entire flock, and when the shepherd gets upset at the flock, he doesn't punish the rest of the flock, he blames the leader. And then the Rebbe continues, and if you listen to it again, there's P'chiyas Neiros. The Rebbe says, the shaila is, why did you have to choose Ploini ben Ploini, that he should be the Nagda Samusa? And if there is a reason why he would Ploini ben Ploini, in other words, the Rebbe himself, was chosen, the shaila is Abnosai. And if you listen to the tape, I believe this is exactly the Rebbe's words, Zol Shem Kumen the Rebbe, Zol Shem Kumen Mashiach, and you should take the whole Anna, from the ganze Maimon, the Matzah, the Mashiach, that the Rebbe should come, Mashiach should come, and take the whole flock out of this whole Maimon, the Matzah, Vifil Ashir, how much Matter and Zich, or Matter and Andrin, if you look at the whole Farbrengen, that was talking to specific people, Farbrengen with them specifically, directly, they should go out of themselves. That was like saying, Vifil Ashir, that Matter and Zich, Matter and Yedim, like, what do you want from me? Zol Shekum the Rebbe, Zol Shekum Mashiach, and take us out of this whole Maimon, the Matzah. In other words, the word is, that it wasn't Pashut. It wasn't Pashut, and it isn't Pashut, and we have to think about the fact, tonight is Yud Shevat, Yud Aleph Shvat, the day that the Rebbe became the Rebbe, and we have to appreciate the Rebbe's Mesiras Nefesh. We have to think about it, and we have to understand that the Rebbe gave up literally everything for us to be able to do the Avodah of Deir HaShvi. And therefore there's two maskanos on that. Number one, there has to be a Moedik Simcha. Number one, we have to celebrate this. That's enough for a reason to say L'chaim and Fabrei. Ashreinu Matayv Chalkeinu, that Baruch Hashem, the Rebbe was Mekabel the Messias, and the Rebbe had that Mesiras Nefesh, and he gave up everything but Gashmias, Uberuchnias to be our Rebbe, and that's enough of a reason just to be Mesameach. But besides for the Simcha, it's also an Achrayus, it's a major responsibility. We have to make sure that the Rebbe gave up everything for a reason, and we are the reason. And it's only going to happen if we do what the Rebbe wants us to do, if we're Zera Avram Oyavi, if we're Chassidim, that people look at us, and if we look at ourselves, you see Avram, you see the Av of Avram, you see the Avos Hashem, as the Rebbe Taichnes Natzicha, the Avos HaTorah, Avos Yisrael, you see everything that the Rebbe stood for in his Chassidim, then hopefully it'll be worth it. Hopefully it was worth it. It is worth the Rebbe's Mesiras Nefesh, but it's only worth it if we do what we're supposed to do. So L'chaim, the Eibusha should help him. We should think about this a little bit in Yud Shevat, and we should talk about Zera Avram Oyavi, we should be Chassidim Mitzadar to Zah. L'chaim.
Happy birthday. Rabbi Yossi Engel from Adelaide.
After hearing such warme Wörter from the previous speaker, one wonders, it's almost like we feel guilty that the Rebbe accepted upon himself to be Rebbe. One of the things that is the most fascinating things about the Rebbe is that the Rebbe is in almost all areas a noiseh shtei hafachim. The Rebbe contains opposites, contains literally dichotomies, opposites that are really antithetical. It almost sounds like antithetical one to another. I just had the opportunity to tell a story to Mr. Schechter, a story that the Rebbe told tonight by the Fabrengen. Maybe it's telling that the Rebbe told it at this Fabrengen Tafshin Yud Aleph, your Tva Tafshin Yud Aleph. I believe he was told then. But the Rebbe tells a story that a chassid, the shliach, was sent on shlichus to the Frierdiker Rebbe. By the Frierdiker Rebbe, was sent on shlichus, and every year he would come back and ask the Frierdiker Rebbe that he wants to leave the shlichus. And this particular year, and every year the Frierdiker Rebbe said to him, "No, we need you there. The Yid need you there. I need you to go back and do your shlichus work there." It was a yearly event that he came back. It was a yearly event that he complained he wants to come back. It was an annual event that the Frierdiker Rebbe sent him back. One year he came and he didn't ask the Frierdiker Rebbe to go back. And the Frierdiker Rebbe says, now come back. So it's a funny thing, you have to be here. You have to be there on shlichus, but you want to be here by the Rebbe. So Shachsid. Interestingly, that would then suggest that your mind should be where the Rebbe is. Right? The mind should be where the Rebbe is. And yet, we find something very interesting. There was a chassid called Reb David Chanzen. David Chanzen was a chassid, was the head of the Rabboni Chabad, and it's a kodesh, very, very gehoibene chassid, phenomenal chassid. A bit closer, right? Okay, well, we'll get there before the night's over. All right.
Rabbi side.
We're going bench. Didn't mean I don't. So, the Rebbe. So the interesting thing, he once was by the Rebbe, and there was an old question whether Chassidim should behave, should act according to whether or not that was Yidden that come from Eretz Yisrael. We know that Eretz Yisrael only celebrates one day Yom Tov, and Chutz La'aretz we celebrate 2 days Yom Tov. So the question is whether those who come from Eretz Yisrael to be by the Rebbe, whether they should be 2 days or 1 day Yom Tov. So the story is told that David Chanzen was by the Suda, by one of the meals by the Rebbe, and he told someone made a comment. The question was whether Chassidim that come from Eretz Yisrael or Shluchim, maybe perhaps was the reference. Not that I see a big difference personally, but we read that as that made. But they did. So the question was whether a Chassid that comes from Eretz Yisrael should be knowing like the Rebbe, be knowing like Eretz Yisrael. And David Chanzen, the Shliach of the Rebbe, said, "I'm the Rebbe's Shliach, and therefore I am present with the Rebbe, and therefore I'm knowing as like the Rebbe." I'm knowing as if present by the Rebbe as 1 day Yom Tov, 2 days Yom Tov. The Rebbe answered, "Oib du bist meine Shliach, bist du b'mokim hashlichus." If you are my shliach, then you are in the place of your shlichus. These two stories are not just opposing one to another; they're different tenuas. They're almost opposites. Usually we say, "I died to the Rebbe. I'm going to do it like the Rebbe. I'm a chassid. I'm battled to the Rebbe." The Rebbe wants, however, something different. The Rebbe wants you to be present there. The Rebbe wants you to be present in the place of Golas Achman al-Islam, or at least Magam HaShlichus, because that's what Rav is. He wants you to be present in Magam HaShlichus, in other words. He wants you to have, not that you're doing it because you were told, as the Rebbe said in reference to Mashiach. He wants you to be there with your moyach, with your heart, with your soul, with your scheme, with your planning, as if it's Dainer Azak, it's your personal thing, you have to be present. I'll be there with you, the Rebbe says. But on the one hand, it's a chiddush of this generation, an incredible chiddush of this generation, how the Rebbe wanted Elokus the Tanya to be printed in that place, the Mayan to be present in the farthest places in the world. This now is a different Metzias than it ever was before, and the fact that now we're being Mayan of the world. And so a Chassid and a Shliach, and a Chassidim are Shluchim, and a Yidin are Shluchim. And a Chassid and a Shliach is present where you are is your place of Shlichus. Where you are at that place, you have to be there, you have to scheme, you have to plan, you have to put your mind and heart and soul and everything into it. And by that, that's the way the ones that it wants you to be. So what you see is, always see these opposites. Similarly, you can say it was quite similar in regards to the inyanim that we spoke about before, the Rabbi Levi Gerari spoke about before, and talked incredible things, phenomenal things. We heard a few left. You may mention that people call themselves child of the 60s. I'm a child of the men's. I remember put in touch with Gimel, the Rebbe took Givarf, and the Rebbe said this is why people come to me. There were Fabrings when the Rebbe said that. But it seems that in the Oisius, in the Yuds was stronger. But you hear, it's almost as if they say we should feel guilty. But here's the interesting thing. In Purim, Tafshin Zion, the Rebbe was asked, not Purim, in Tafshin Zion, the Rebbe was in Paris, and he was asked by someone, what is your she'ifa? What is your aspiration? To what do you aspire? What's your aspire? Alavai, I can only reach that. What do you aspire to? The Rebbe said, Vus is dort zwei Yidden, soll sein Alavavitcher Shul. Not 30, qualify for Rabbi Tzidyon. Where there are two Jews, the Rebbe says his aspiration is, where there are two Yidden, two Jews, there should be a Chabad Shul. Chabad Synagogue, Chabad Shul. Not 30, not a million, not 100, not 1,000, not 500. Shluchim today will go to a place, there's 400, it's 400, and maybe they won't go to a place where there's 100. Where there are two Yidden, there should be a Lubavitcher Shul. The Rebbe's dream is 1,000 times further than they ever revealed to us, as you can see from this story. The Rebbe wants every single Yid to be touched. By the Rebbe, there is no Jew left behind. So it's an interesting thing that the same Rebbe that didn't want the job, so to speak, as Rabbi Levi just said, the same Rebbe had the most incredible she'ifa and need that a Yid in Japan should get a siddur as those who know that anybody went to any place that ever had in mind who was there and what he needed and how he needed it, and he wanted 2 tanyas and 3 siddurim and 3, and it was by the Rebbe the Rebbe couldn't sleep because the Rebbe knew that this guy needed this tanya. It's a different outlook. The Rebbe transformed, revolutionized completely the way we look at life, the way we look at, not just the way we look at our place in life, and the way we look at our responsibility towards others. Until the Rebbe, there was a period of time that you worked for yourself, you did for yourself, and then you also did for others. For the Dugmar, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein was once asked by a Litvish guy, if they're allowed to go up in Vatal Torah to do mitzvahim. So he answered, in America they say time is money. 10% of money you give to tzedakah, 10% of your time give towards helping others. It's not something which is an ikras, it's something which you do, you give of yourself to help others. By the Rebbe, it was completely different. We just came from the Parshias of Yosef, and the mice of Yosef and his brothers. And it's incredible the difference of the way Yosef looks at things and the brothers look at things. Yosef, Chassidus tells us, wanted to go into the world and be mile of the world. His brothers wanted to keep away from the world and be Roy Yitzhak. They weren't able to go into the world. When Yosef goes into Mitzrayim, you could say that Baruch is the reason why his brothers thought that he was a goner. An interesting thing happens when Yosef goes to Mitzrayim. When Yosef goes to his brothers. The Torah tells us that his brothers went to Leroy says to go and to feed the sheep, Pasture, thank you. The sheep of his father. Says Rashi, they really were only going leaders as when they really weren't going to do their father's bidding. They were only going for themselves. What is Yosef looking for? I'm looking for another Yid. He comes into a shlichus. His father sends him a shlichus. The word shlichus is used possibly one of the first times. There's a word that his father says, I'll send you I want to send you on the shlichus. If you look closely to that pasuk in the Avich, this is too much to tell in one Fabrengen, you'll see that Yosef's brothers wanted to go. They wanted to do their own thing. They wanted to build their own besmedrash. They wanted to build their own place. They wanted to do their own thing. The only place in the world today where you see that suddenly comes the Rebbe to us and tells us, no, don't build your own thing, don't build your own place, build the world. The ganze Welt needs you. There's a sikh of the Rebbe where the Rebbe explains that when Yaakov wanted to live peacefully, he wanted to be at peace. And the Abisha says, it's not good enough for you that you have a hobby, you want to be peaceful here in this world as well. The vart is that he had to transform the world. So you see by the Rebbe, this Nakuda, that although on the one hand the Rebbe himself resisted the Nesius, but the Rebbe at the same time had an incredible hunger to give of himself, to give his Torah, to give everything. It was, in other words, these were the opposites, and the Rebbe are absolutely phenomenal. There was a chassid, there was a yid called, a very famous Yid, Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner. God Yisrael, it was a Litvish Gadol. He had a Friday night shiur with the Rebbe in Tafshin Yud. Initially he learned with Rabbi Zalman Garari, then he realized that he's beyond his pay grade, so he learned with Rabbi Shmuel Zalman. Rabbi Shmuel Zalman asked the Ramash, the Rebbe, to learn with Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner, who studied with the Rebbe of Chassidus Friday night in 770. Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner was asked, what's going to be in Lubavitch? He said two interesting things. Firstly, he said, they don't want, it was Tammuz Tafshin Yud, 4 or 5 months after the Friedrich, 4 months after the Friedrich Rebbe was nostalgic. What's going to be? And as I said, who's going to be the next Rebbe? Is it going to be the Ramash? So he had two interesting lines. One, he said, they want him. Sorry. He doesn't want to, the Ramash, the Rebbe doesn't want to, aber knirre as mit the achrayus to the Chassidim that it is done. It seems that for their because of the responsibility to the Chassidim, he'll do it. That's one expression. Where it's mashma, he'll do it because he has responsibility. He had another expression where he said, "Ze will mit hanemes, und will nicht mit hanemes." They really, really want him, and he really, really doesn't want the job. He really doesn't want it. It's a Peladic thing. I don't understand it. I don't have any much hezbollah other than to say that that the Rebbe, it's wrong to give it, to make this a one-dimensional thing. It's incredible how the Rebbe suddenly takes and looks after every single Yid, and is the Rebbe's she'ifa goal in life is that wherever there's two Yid, there shouldn't be a Yid forgotten. It's an absolutely incredible thing. That level you don't find before. That level of bringing Shechina down Lamata. But it's not just bringing Shechina down Lamata. The Rebbe is bringing it to the farthest places. There is the Rebbe's care for every Yid. A few mices. There's the Chassid. There were 9 Lubavitcher Bochum that were going through Russia. They were going to a camp. As things happened, this is around 2003, 2002, I don't know, one of those years. And they're traveling through Russia. And the train breaks down in the middle of nowhere. And they go down to see their, the train broke down, and they go down to see get off the train. Now they want to know if they can go find the Jewish house anywhere nearby. They're stuck in the middle of nowhere. So they call up the Federation of Communities, the head of the Chabad Community Center over there in Russia. They go down to here, they call them up and they say, look, we're stuck in this town. Is there any Jew around? Well, you're in luck. He says, you're actually in a town right near where there's a Yid. He's our representative. In the middle of Russia, middle of nowhere. So the Federation of Communities has a Yid representative, and he's not too far from you. Give him a call. This is his phone number. They call this Yid at 7 in the evening. They call up the Yid, and they say, Shalom Aleichem, is this of Shalom? Yes, of Shalom. All right, we are a few Lubavitch Bochrim, and we got stuck in the middle of nowhere, and we hear you have a kosher at home, and we'd love to come by and spend the night there, because our train is going to take 24 hours to repair itself. That's how long it takes in Russia anytime that an axle breaks. So, he's, okay, wow, fantastic, excellent, here's my address, please come when you come, and we'll be there in 20 minutes. Okay, they take a taxi, and they knock on his door. One person, they knock on the door, and they see his eyes are lit up like he's never seen. And one person comes in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when the ninth one walks in, he bursts out in uncontrollable tears. And he can't even bring himself to come down. It takes him a few minutes to calm down. When he comes down, he says, you're obviously wondering why I'm so excited. Let me tell you why. My father was from a group of Yidden that was taken out of Russia in Tafshin Lamed Aleph or Lamed, when the Yidden went to the Rebbe. One of those years, 1990, I think 71, I think so, maybe it was in Lamed Beis. Huh? Lamed? Tafshin Lamed, end of 69, year for Tishrei. The Rebbe Russia wanted to show that they were kind and good and decent and all those things that they weren't. So they let a group of Yidden come out with their Moskverov, Rabbi Levin, he has an Efresh Naman, how do you like name? So Rabbi Yehuda Levin, that's where was his name. Those who know the Skabloz and Kronheitz, she's his granddaughter. Incredible mice in that itself, phenomenal mice of the Rebbe. And this chassid came with some 30, a number of Yidden, maybe 30, maybe 60, tens of Yidden came to them. My father was one of them, says this Yid. He came into the Rebbe and he asked the Rebbe, I live in a place in the middle of nowhere. I'm the only source of Yiddishkeit here. And it's genug. I've been here so many years, I want to go. The Rebbe said, I want you to go back and to continue doing what you're doing. I don't know if the Rebbe said the words Yishlichus, but that was the gist. Yiddishkeit needs you there. He said, Rebbe, was hat sein mit meinem Sohn? What's going to be with my son? So the Rebbe says, your son will be looked after. I'll look after your son. My father raised me, Baruch Hashem. I joined I continued the Yiddish path just like my father did. 1 year ago tonight, my father passed away. And tonight, I'm sitting here, I'm saying to myself, I'm crying. I'm saying, Rebbe, you promised my father that you look after him. And this first yard site, there's no minyan. Suddenly you guys call, and you say that if you get a few Bachrim. I said, okay, incredible. So I figured maybe there's 1 or 2 guys. 9 guys came in. We have a minyan. We can say Kaddish for my father tonight. But the Rebbe says, I look after you. The Rebbe says, the Rebbe looks after you. The incredible thing about the uftu of the Rebbe, Alter Rebbe says, I find so many times with the Rebbe that we don't see the forest because of the trees. One example is the effective kibbutz golias that the Rebbe has set up with shluchim everywhere. The Alter Rebbe was in Petersburg, and he saw the street cleaner was making small piles, and then when we finished with the small piles, he'd gather all the small piles and turn them into one big one. And so he said, as Mashiach will come, and this is the way it's going to be when Mashiach will come. First, I'll make small piles all over the world, small gatherings of Yidden, and then I'll gather them all together. I don't know at what point we are going to realize that the Rebbe is doing this. So every kibbutz, in every place, in every Yid, there's no one Yid who's alone. Says the Rebbe, no Yid can be left in Golus. So my dream is that there should be a presence in every single place, the Lubavitch present in every single place in the world. One Yid makes the whole world. You'd think that in order to gather the Yid, you need millions, and the Rebbe wants one Yid. Chazal tell us that Moshe Rabbeinu was Moshe Rabbeinu because he ran after one sheep. What happened after he was a shepherd for one sheep? He became a shepherd of Klal Yisrael. Why? Why did you need a shepherd for thousands, for Russia, for Alpha Yisrael, for thousands? Like the Kehillas that Moshe Rabbeinu was gathering, Makal Kehillas was 600,000 Yidden or 3 million Yidden that gathered together. Why do you need him to be a shepherd who cares for one Yid? Not just because every Yid is special and unique, but because for every Yid is Ben Yoch Ben Meibishter. Because if one Yid is not important, then 1,000 Yid are not important. And this the Kudah, they say there was a woman, I don't recall who she was, but some sort of very, one of these great minds. And she was watching a Fabrengen. And she saw Fabrengen, and she said, the Rebbe is talking to crowds. There's thousands that are listening. She doesn't see the individual connection, the personal connection. And then she saw people say, L'chaim. She said, no, there's the personal connection. And it's so well known that when the Rebbe spoke to you, it was you. One individual. Yosef HaTzadik was taken away from his father. What's the halacha that he was learning before he was taken away from his father? That if one Yid is lost, don't mean he'd go. It's not my problem, it's not your problem. It's not in my town, it's not in your town, it's nobody's town. So what we have to do is we have to measure to the closest place, and we have to make sure that nobody chas v'shalom forgot to give him a meal, not necessarily even a shi, or even just a meal, a Friday night meal, or a daily meal, or a shalom aleichem, or a good morning. How important is that? So after Moshe Rabbeinu, after Yosef HaTzadik is already, after his brothers, after so many years, learned what it means to have Avas Yisrael, that even one Binyamin, who's a brother from another mother, he can't be forgotten. And Yehuda goes on Mesidus Nefesh, Ki Avdecha Or Aves Hanar. I promised I'll be Menud Mishnei Oilamos. I'm out of this world and out of next world if one Yid gets lost, that's for Shalom. And Yaakov Avinu is Vayemoin Yisnachim for one child. I'm not a big baby in silver, but the sterling silver, also 925 is not so bad. But you have to have 999. You have to have 100%. But not 10 out of 11 out of Yaakov says ki eided el b'ni oven shayil. What's oven shayil? I'm going to go down because one child's lost. One last kudah. What taka is going to be? Once the Rebbe sets out in the beginning of the Nesias that every Yid, that we all have to bring the Shechina Lamato. That until then, Chassidus was Tifach Chassidus, Rakia Hazayin. The Friedrich Chassidus was simpler, Chassidus more explained, well, Biyurim, Rakia Ha'alef, but it's all Chassidus, it's all theory, it's all thought. Comes the Rebbe and he says, you have to bring the Shechina Lamato Kipshutai. He has to come down to the earth at every corner of this world. But how many Yidden can you reach? Let's say that for Be'ez Hashem, every place where there's a Yid, we'll be able to have another Chabad. Halavai. Let's say wherever there is a Yid, no Yid is forgotten. So how many will be Makarav? 1 million Yidden. What's going to be with the others? How does this bring Mashiach? So Yeshulaimar, we can say that the Eibush is saying a very simple thing. The Rebbe is saying, a very simple thing. You do yours. You go Mesidus Nefesh for one Yid. And make sure that this one Yid is not forgotten. Mida Keneged Mida, when you do this, Mida Keneged Mida, the Eibush will say the same. And when the Eibush says, no, Yid is forgotten, that's Kibbutz Goliath, that's when the Eibush brings us all together. But also has to be that one Yid is unforgettable. Every Yid is unforgettable. This Gilead, this idea that you forget it all. You put your money where your mouth is. Opposite Torah is not just an idea, but you must nefesh for this idea that you have to help another Yid. Where there's 2 Yid and you get a shliach, or in the Rebbe Shifak, that you don't forget, that you change your lifestyle to give of yourself, that there is no Yid that's forgotten. then the Eibusher sees this, and the Eibusher helps him B'Korav. And you know how many people and shluchim and chassidim that the Rebbe have, all over the world, that are not forgetting about a Yid, no matter where, no matter who, no matter where they are. The Eibusher helps him B'Korav, the Eibusher will Mekabel Tzidchei Yisrael, B'Bias Moshiach, take him yet moment.
In connection to what was mentioned by Rabbi Engel in regards to the Rebbe saying that a chassid has to be, a shliach has to be in the place where they are. They're makim hashlichus. Just reminding you that story of the Rav David Chanzen, Zechrein Levracha. So there's a story which happened the time when I was on shlichus. I didn't hear actually the comment, but it was told over to us, and I checked with the Baal HaMaisa, who most of us know over here. Many years ago I checked if it's accurate and if it can be publicized. So many of us know Rabbi Shalom Duchman, who the Rebbe sent on shlichus to Yerushalayim, to first of all Koilel Tzemach Tzedek in Toshin Amud Vav, the first time the Rebbe sent Shluchim to Yerushalayim and Shluchim to Tzfas. And then later the Rebbe made him in charge of Koilel Chabad, the stock of Koilel Chabad, as everybody, many of us know. Those Shluchim, Rabbi Say, those Shluchim, those 10 families and 13 Bochrim at that time. So the Rebbe did not give them permission to come back to New York for quite a while. They went, they left Yud Aleph Shvat, Tovshin Lamed Vov. That's what, 43 years ago. Tovshin Lamed Vov. That's when they left. Yud Aleph Shvat, Tovshin Lamed Vov. The Diuk. It was Yud Aleph Shvat, Tovshin Lamed Vov. The following year, Shchedesh Kislev, so myself and my Chaverim together, we were able to go on Shlichus to Yeshivas Teres Hemes in Yerushalayim. That was Tovshin Lamed Zayin, and they were there already. Kislev was almost the whole year, it was already 9 months, 10 months. And we, most of us went back to New York to the Rebbe for Pesach. I just remember my father, Al Shalom, who was Tafshel Amazayin. He wasn't a wealthy man. And I called him up and I said, I want to go to the Rebbe for Pesach. That trip we had to pay for ourselves. And he said, the Gul Farnans in Redden, how can I say no? The ticket there was $500 US, a lot of money in those days. But that was his response. It was Farnans in Redden, how can I say no? Anyway, so when the Rebbe was giving matzah Erev Pesach, so Rabbi Yisrael Duchman, Allah Shalom, that's Shalom Duchman's father, when he went over to the Rebbe to get matzah, so he asked matzah for his son, Shalom, who's on Shlichus in Yerushalayim. And he said to the Rebbe, "Es gewollt kommen da auf Pesach." Sie hat gedacht, "Nissen, gewollt kommen, gewollt sein da auf Yom Tov." The Rebbe gave him matzah, and the Rebbe said as follows: "Weln darf man weln sein da." What he should want is Taka, he should want to be here. Aber sein darf sein dorten. But where he should be over there. Zeh Loshen. Weln darf man weln sein da. No, to his father, to you, not to us. They said it to Yisrael, Reb Yisrael Duchman also, who went over to the Rebbe at Matzah, asking for his son, Matzah, we were there. The Rebbe said to him, so he says to the Rebbe again, that his son wanted to be there, in New York, but the Rebbe didn't let them. So the response was, Weln darf man weln sein da. Aber sein darf man sein dort. I'd like to call up now another guest from out of town, Rabbi Aaron Moss. Rabbi sign.
Chaim. So just a little story that happened recently, a fresh story. Nothing amazing or miraculous, but I thought significant. It was just a couple of weeks ago. Before we left Sydney, we were coming to the Yakakala in Marysville, and we were planning to drive on the 1st of January. Good day to drive, there's no trucks on the road. And so the night before, 31st of December, it was quite late at night and we were just getting our stuff together. At 11 o'clock at night, I hear voices outside the front door of my house. And it's, in Sydney, New Year's Eve, it's a noisy time. We're in Bondi Beach. But people right outside my house, and they start knocking on the door. So my wife says, don't answer it. You know, you got, who knows what, knocking at the door, don't answer it. But I said, I'm sure it's fine. I looked through the keyhole, two young guys standing there with some sharp object in their hand. I couldn't quite see what it was. And it looked fine. So I opened the door, and indeed there were two young guys, one of them holding a bottle of wine. And he says, hi, sorry to disturb. We just moved in this afternoon to the house across the road, and we don't have a corkscrew, because we just moved in. Would you have a corkscrew? So the house across the road from us, there's a house, I knew which one he meant, is like a party house. Students, always, you know, young students coming in there, usually Irish or Brazilian, And so these guys have just moved in this afternoon without a corkscrew. So so I thought, okay, I'll go have a look. And somehow in my head I thought, like, can I open a tray for bottle of wine with my corkscrew? I don't know why it became a shiloh all of a sudden in my mind if you could do such a thing. I mean, it's probably alright, no? I mean, it doesn't really touch the wine, I'm sure. I'm sure it's probably fine. But for some reason in my head, it became a problem. So I went looking for, I knew where the corkscrew is, I knew we had one. But I went and sort of shuffled around a bit, and after a while I said, I can't find it, you know, we so seldom, you know, open wine here. That I don't have a corkscrew. And then I said, no worries, that's fine, beseder. And then the other guy says, Shana Tova, and they walk away into the night. Not in Israeli accent, in Australian, but they obviously wanted to say beseder Shana Tova, they wanted to identify themselves. I suddenly realized 2 Jewish guys who just came to my door and just moved in across the road. It's never Jewish people in that place, but anyway, they are. So suddenly, my wife says, "We gotta go back. We gotta go across and meet these guys." So I said, "So let's find a corkscrew." So we start looking again, a bit more carefully this time, and I was pretty sure we had one somewhere tucked away. And we did. There was a really nice one that we found that we never used. It was like we're giving them as a housewarming gift, a corkscrew. They obviously need that. And then my wife said, "And take a kosher bottle of wine." So I said, "Oh, very good." So I went and I took the arm with the corkscrew and the bottle of wine. I went across the road into the night and walked in the house. The door was wide open, and indeed there was a party going on. I think a pre-party, like for New Year's Eve, and a lot of guys. And I walked in and hey, they welcomed me, come in. And I said, there were 2 guys looking for corkscrew. And he said, yeah, they weren't back yet, they're still looking. And then so one guy, he comes up straight up to me and he said, "Can we put on tefillin right now?"
What's this, midnight or
And
something?
this is around 11:30. So I said, look, it's a bit of, at night, it's not really. He said, "I put on tefillin every week with Zalmi Ainsworth." That's what he tells me. He's from Melbourne, he's moved to Sydney, and he said, "I do it every week. We've got to do it." I said, "We can't do it now, but maybe tomorrow, we can do it tomorrow." He said, "Okay, let's get a selfie." So he takes a selfie with me, and I think he sends it to Zalmi. I haven't seen him here, but he's in this one. So anyway, so then a few other guys introduced, but they're all Jewish. All these guys have moved in, a few from Melbourne, a few from Sydney. One guy is a Scopus boy. One guy took out a yarmulke to get a photo with me. All the guys were Jewish. The girls I'm not so sure, but they all got together. We did a big group photo, and they were very excited. And the 2 guys came back, and I said, "Here's your corkscrew," and they said, "Thanks so much." And he starts telling me about the shul that he goes to. He doesn't go so often. What's your shul? And and he wants to come. And this is their New Year's Eve party. Anyway, I was leaving the next morning early in the morning, so I wasn't able to go to put on film with them. In fact, even if I was leaving in the afternoon, I probably wouldn't be able to put on film with them. But I sent my bochrim who were in Sydney, working for me. I gave them the address. They go over, and they've gone over. They put on film with them. They put with the guys. And I'm actually looking forward to going home to have them over for Shabbos, because we've never had people at least in that house, young guys, a bunch of young guys who are Jewish. What struck me by the story, I mean, it's amazing that they were there, but that he's asking me to put on film. I wasn't asking him. He's asking me. And I think this is a tkufa that we're in history, where, we have to go out and everything. We have to ask people, but like they're actually looking for us and asking us as well. That Yud Shevat, Toshin Yud, Toshin Aleph, like there was an idea of going out there, but like now it's actually happened where the world is expecting us to put on tefillin with them, to do mitzvahs with them. They're waiting for us and coming to us, even 11:30 on the 31st of December. But of course, not everyone is so enthusiastic necessarily. Not everyone we meet is so excited about putting on tefillin. These guys certainly are, and I'm sure that we're going to have a Shabbos with them pretty soon. Not everyone we meet is so enthusiastic, but even the ones that are not enthusiastic, there's a different level, I think, today. There's another brief story that happened not too long ago. Yeah, that there was a couple that I had done their wedding, Jewish, but not really traditional at all. And it was about 6 months after their wedding, and I invited them back for a Shabbos to come over. And I'm sitting there at the Shabbos table, and in the middle of the meal, the guy, lovely young guy, good guy, he says to me, "Tell me, would you be able to organize a pair of tefillin for me and teach me how to put them on?" I said, sure, no problem. I wanted to ask, why, but I didn't want to ask why. Why, you shouldn't ask a Yid why he wants tefillin. Like, of course, a Yid wants tefillin. On the other hand, I was curious why, out of the blue, he's asking me this question. I never believed that you should question a Yid. Like, if a Jew comes to shul, you don't say, "Oh, what are you doing here?" Like, what do you mean? That's where they should be. So I didn't want to ask him, but I was curious. So I said something like, "Have you been thinking about that for a while, or recently, or And he said, "I'll tell you." He said that, as you know, he got married. I did the wedding, and they went on a honeymoon. And for the honeymoon, they went to Paris, and him and his wife, and they. And so he said that he's walking up Champs-Élysées, the main big street there in Paris, and as he's walking up, suddenly there's a voice coming behind him saying, "Excuse me, do you want to put on tefillin?" And he turns around and he sees this little bacher standing there asking to put on tefillin. And he said to me, "How do they always know to ask me? I'm just walking on the street, I'm a tourist walking on the street. How do they know to ask me? Always. They always get me. They always ask me." So I said, "Because your nose is down to the ground." No. So he said, "No thanks." He said, "No thanks," and he kept walking. Then he tells me, as I'm walking, I think, I haven't put on tefillin since my bar mitzvah. I don't even remember how to do it. I just got married, and please God, I'm going to have a family. And one day I'm going to have a son, and he's going to have his bar mitzvah, and he's going to be learning how to put on tefillin. He's going to say, "Dad, can you help me put on tefillin?" And I'm not going to have a clue how to do it. It's wrong. I need to know this. So he decided that when I go home, I'm going to ask Rabbi Moss to get me tefillin and to teach me how to put them on. And he did. And so at the Shabbos he asked me. So I was in touch with him during the week, and I told him the different options. I said, there's entry-level tefillin, there's higher level, the way I put it was there's like a Toyota level, there's a Volvo, and there's a Rolls-Royce, like you pay more and you get better. And he said, "I like the Swedish, give me I've got a Volvo." In other words, he was willing to pay $800, whatever it was, like not the base, he wanted the better ones. And so we got them from Rubelli. They were the ones, remember, you sent the right-handed, and then he told me he's left-handed? Remember those ones? Anyway, so he came over, I taught him to put on the tefillin. To be honest, I don't know if he puts them on every day or once in a blue. I don't know what he does. The bottom line is he has Mahuda tefillin, and he knows how to put them on. And there's a bacher somewhere who has no idea what they did. There's a bacher from Paris who was asking another Jew, "Do you want to put on tefillin?" And he got another "no thanks." And that was another rejection. And whether the bacher felt bad or didn't remember or didn't care, whatever it was, he has no idea the thought process that he sparked in this guy, that he actually needs tefillin. He needs to learn how to put on tefillin. And he has it because of that bacher who will never know who it is. Although,
No, we'll never know who it is. So anyway, even the no's we get, even the people who are not interested, so-called not interested, who walk away or say, reject us, lav dafka. We don't really know what's happening. Yeah. Even further than that, there's one more story. I only heard this a couple of weeks ago. There's a guy been coming to my shul for just over a year. Shabbos Bereshis last year, this guy just showed up Shabbos morning. He walked in and just sat down and very fresh-looking guy, not a regular shul-going type of person, but he looked very interested and engaged. So I went up to him and said hello to him afterwards, and ended up that he was friends with somebody who came to the shul, who suggested he comes, and so he came. So he came to shul. I said, welcome, great to have you, maybe come over sometime, and he came the next week, and he came every week. He started just coming every week. Shabbos morning, he would come every single week to shul. A guy who had not gone to shul before, but he decided he's going to shul. I don't know what made him, again, I don't ask him why, but he's coming to shul every single week. And he's getting very into it. A friend with the community. His wife is not Jewish. He's got children. He's brought them a couple of times. He brought his wife as well. She's not interested at the moment. But he's coming every single week to shul. And after more than a year of him coming, and getting very involved with the community, he's made friends with a lot of people, and he goes for Shabbosim, and goes to Shiurim, and they ask Chavrusas, and he's very, very into it. And he basically keeps Shabbos. I'm saying he walks to shul, he does the whole thing. Quite amazing, coming from nothing. He grew up, he told me that he grew up going to the Temple Emmanuel, the Reform in Sydney, and not really connecting with it, and now he's totally involved. He said to me, we were having a chat, and he said to me, almost just in passing, he mentioned to me, he said, I remember that 5 years ago, it was Yom Kippur, and I'd been at the Emmanuel, at Temple Emmanuel, and I would usually go there for a couple of hours, sit there and leave. And so I went and did exactly that, and I was driving home after the services, and I had my daughter in the car. And she fell asleep as we were driving. So I didn't want to get home and wake her up and bring her into the house. It's a very common problem, with Kippur during the break, when you drive home and the kids fall asleep. I'm sure we've all had that. And so, so he thought, okay, I'll just pull over the side of the road somewhere till she wakes up and just let her sleep. So he's driving. Those who are familiar with Sydney, the Temple Emmanuel's in Wallara. He lives up in sort of Vaucluse, Dover Heights area. So he's driving through Bondi Beach, and he pulls off on the side of the road. He said it was Glenare Avenue. Pulls over the side of the road, and he just sits there. His baby's sleeping in the back, and he's just sort of looking out the window. And he sees, as he looks out the window, he sees what's obviously a shul. And there's people coming out of the shul. And he described it that as he saw the people walking out, he could see that this was a community. This was a bunch of people who knew each other, who were connected with each other, talking and engaging, and there was something very attractive to it. He looked and he saw that that's a community of people. And he thought of where he's coming from, that he'd just been in the Temple Emmanuel. And he said, I sit there, don't connect to anybody there, don't connect to the service at all, doesn't mean anything to me, has no spiritual meaning whatsoever. And I do it every year, and I go there, and it's just meaningless. And I don't understand what's happening, and I don't feel a part of it. Those people, they look like they're a part of something. They're connected to something. I wish I could have that. He said, I wish I could have that. He was jealous of it. And he said to me that he only realized recently, he remembered this story, it was 5 years ago, he realized that the shul was my shul, was Nefesh. He was stopped Glenare Avenue, just off Roscoe Street. And the people was our community, which he's now a part of. And he only just realized that. So I said to him, so you see what happened? You davened on Yom Kippur, and you were answered. You asked to be a part of something, and you got it. You're actually part of it. And he said, yeah. true. And so, this is even more. This is none of us in the shul had any idea that there was somebody parked across the road looking at us, wishing he was a part of us. None of us had a clue of it. But we had an effect. We had an impact on this guy, and now he's a part of it. He's in. So there are people who are coming and chasing us, asking, please put on tefillin with me. There are people who say no thanks, and they're also being impacted. And there are people who we don't even know, they're just driving past, they're just parked over there, and they're looking at us from the outside and wishing they could be a part of it. So all we need to do is respond, and to do exactly as the Rebbe said, just sharing the mitzvahs, making it available, and making ourselves available and open, and then we'll see exactly what was spoken about earlier, how one by one every Yid gets reconnected, and that will bring the Gula, the Chaim.
Video. We have the video, please. Malone, put on the video. Malone, put on the video now, please. Huh?
Wait. Come around.
Turn off the lights. Lights, where's the lights? Turn off the lights there, please.
Behind the way.
Sound.
Wow. Als man sieht, als ein Mensch schläft und befindet sich in einer Huis, wo der Huis brennt, ist das keiner nicht trachten bei sich. Als der Tore nicht gehen Rufwerken von Schlaf, da fahre das in jedem Tag private Angelegenheit und Tore zu jedem nicht mischen. Wollen wir gerne in der Hofhafen ist, wird mit Daten maßlich sein, als dort darf rechtlegen von der Hui, will es wissen, als Sami dort Hui segnet werden. Sie mehr nicht, was erschossen geworden, besser nicht, was tut herum. Was dort in der Aufklärung haben, soll wissen sein, als sie du willst Neischmutzen. Als will sich nicht finden auf die Schulchenore, rät es nicht der Ried, das rät ein nicht in Ordnung. Als man kommt zu gehen zu einem Menschen und nicht auf Freitag, von einem, was will erlegt sein und will niedermachen und will erreichstellen in der Sakone, ist es nicht eine Sache, was man tut, nicht eine Lebenssache und man nicht zu verleiten gerne Angelegenheiten. Und das hat mich gerechnet, weil wir lebt in einer demokratischen Medine, dass es der Gipfel nicht ist. Ich sagte, damals nicht jetzt beyond der Dimch ist wenig mehr. Kommt nicht zu gehen zu der Iden und sechste Move ist Kehler tolle die Zavore, ist der Schuldige, nicht so der Schloss, von jener
He was born in June. That means that he's not only Scheiße zu Lichkeit, he is a Jew, and that is his essence. You must only reveal it by removing the breath of the shame that is governing that. And that depends on his relative, especially brother or sister, but there are sister-in-law.
Vinci,
Seite vorsetzen, 27 Uhr, der hat dies ja gut, und wir haben heute nach Reaktion schon gesehen, aber irgendwie wurde zu dominikalen Kirchen. Ich gucke die Gardung, was jede Tag, und dann sollte man Rache kommen. Wir würden nicht können, wir danken Rache. Da kommen wir nach dem kommen. Und das hat er das Woche, als ich rede, machen noch mehr kommen. Ja, dat alles zeggen. Dat alles zo zeggen. Use it to good health and good prognosis, and use it also for the influence of the people around you. At מדליקנדס בשבת. אבל תראה שכל החברות שלו יעשו גם כן. Those friends who live with the parenting and research and be a good influence on all the people around you. Yeah, I don't know if blessing to be happy, to make happy with the Jews around you. Wir können sein, die Schniefes, was ja vermeiden war. Das ist, glaube ich, so loyal. Wir können sein, dass sie gut und gesund und mit der Sache nachher von sich und Gott haben gesprochen und der Ewigste, wo helfen jeder, wir können sein, die Schniefes, was jeder nicht hat. Aber spricht Jüdischkeit und Gutskeit in der ganzen Welt und das ist noch mehr zu heilen. Da der Ewigste wird in Kirchen Geschichten zu jedem von den Menschen schlieren. Und das ist ja neu, was sie tun sollen. Als Mashiach kommt schön und schön gekommen und wir leben wie allein und Mama.
We got a bench for those who wash. Those who didn't wash, make a bracha achreina. A Rebbe's dollar with a note on it that it's Rebbe's dollar but without a name was found in the street. So if anybody lost it, we go to Rabbi Shlomo Baba. We're laughing.
Maybe sense it is. Everyone's going to. It'll find its way to the right